do high energy.
High energy?
Yeah. Hi!
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay. Shall I count us in? 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Hi! And
Hello.
welcome
Hi.
to a new episode with Real Life with JazSaro.
Hello. Thank you for watching our video and coming back on our channel. I look forward to speaking to you today.
Yeah. So we're talking a bit about winter solstice.
Yeah,
And,
we're going to talk about winter solstice.
Yeah. So how do Indian faiths and backgrounds celebrate with the winter solstice?
It's a very good question. And, you know, for me, sort of living here in England, and we have our winter solstice, which is obviously at the end of December, so starting from the 21st of December, but that's the main day that we have our winter solstice. And then, you know, it goes on for a period of about 3 days. That's called a Freudian slip because I'm going to talk about my 3 years, you know, later on in the next video. Gotcha. So that's obviously going on in my mind, you know. Yes. The 3 years, 3 days. So tune in for that video later. Something really interesting I'll be talking about.
Because it's a very powerful number, 3, isn't it?
3 is a very powerful number, so there will be more about that, you know, in the next video, the deeper sort of aspects and meaning when I come back to talk about the winter solstice on a personal level. But yeah, so the winter solstice starts on the 21st, and there's this 3 day sort of period where, you know, there is stillness. That is the time really that we should be really going into ourselves and meditating before, you know, like the sort of movement of the sun again. But going back to your question about Indian faiths, on January the 13th in the north of India, where I come from, the Punjab, we celebrate Lohri. And Lodhi has quite a few different sort of variations to the origins of the story. Now, one of the very oldest meanings of Lodhi is actually that there was 2 sisters, and from when I kind of meditated on this story, the feeling that I got, now this is about, you know, information being channeled to me, was that the 2 sisters were actually the same person, you know, almost like twins but the same person. And so what happened was when Lodhi came, so during this winter solstice period, you know, Lodhi is like the peak, and it's like the here, you know, in the Western part, we say, going back to sort of like the ancient times, people used the word Yule, didn't they? Yes. The Yule is about the wheel, the turning of the wheel. Right. Yeah. So that's what Yule means, wheel basically. Over time people have changed it to wheel, but the original word was Yule for wheel, which means turning, so the wheel turns. And so it's also about the season turning, which is what Lodhi is about. Right. Yeah. So Lodhi is about the transformation, and going back to the sisters, one was called something like Holika, one was called Lodhi, and they were both thrown into the fire. And that's why in the Punjab, where I come from, fire, you know, bonfires and fire ceremonies, it's everywhere, celebrated everywhere. And it's not done so much here because there are restrictions about having fires, although I would really like to find a place where I can do it and restart, you know, this lovely festival and tradition in the UK. So the two sisters, what happened was at this time of Lohri, when fire is like put on and celebrated, these two sisters were thrown in the fire. And this is symbolic,
Yes.
not in reality. But
Right.
this is symbolic, obviously, because then what happened was Holika, she died, but Lohri, she survived. Now, the moral of this story is that we burn away what has gone on in this winter period. So this 3-day period I was talking about, hibernation and meditation, where everything becomes still, where the sun becomes still, it's that is a time of contemplation, and that is the time when we look around and we work out what it is we need to let go of, what it is that we no longer need to take into this new period in our lives.
So is there like great meanings of kind of starting again?
That's right, new
Fresh
beginnings.
starts, yeah.
Absolutely, new beginnings. And so the other, you see, Lohri is the Punjabi word. So in the state of Punjab, most people will relate to the winter solstice as Lohri. Or actually, the Punjab and also in India, they celebrate it slightly later than we do here. And I think that their timings is the winter solstice and Imbolc together. Yeah, because it's the peak of the winter, and it's that time when things are about to turn now. So the days are going to get lighter. But the Hindi word, over India, the Hindu sort of celebration is Makara Sankranti, and it's the same thing basically. And so they're talking about when the sun is at the lowest point in the northern hemisphere, and it's when obviously the nights are longer, the days are shorter, and so there is a lot more night time. Yeah, and we're not getting as much of the sun's rays, but the sun is at the lowest point, so we're having short days. So the Lohri is the turning point of that winter, because it's the time when winter has peaked, just like the winter solstice. So it's the time when the winter has peaked, and that Yule, the wheel, is turning, and so the days are going to change, where we're going to start to get longer days and shorter nights, so everything's going to start turning. So it's calling the sun back basically, and our relationship with the sun.
Right. So do you think there's any kind of links between Gemini and the two sisters? Do you think there's any...
Could be, absolutely, because everything's interconnected and interlinked. And yeah, that's a very good point actually.
Yeah.
Gemini, here we have the star sign Gemini, and it's all about the twins, the two sisters, absolutely, and maybe that's all connected to it. So it doesn't matter where we live in the world, there is always something that is connecting, unifying, bringing everything to a oneness, because I think that, obviously knowledge has gone and spread around the world to different countries and cultures, and people celebrate things in their own way and have given it different words, but when you look at the core, it's still all the same.
Yeah.
And so that's a very valid point actually, yeah.
Right.
I never thought of it like that.
Well,
Thank
it's
you.
just something just came to my mind. Like,
Yeah.
I wondered if there was any reference to it, or maybe the concept of Gemini actually originated from Lodhi.
Oh, it could be, because actually Gemini is the sign where there is always that battle with the other twin.
Yeah.
And one twin is supposed to be good, and the other is always kind of, playing games or tricks, or is more of the dark side, and one is of the light side. So very similar, absolutely.
And I suppose there's kind of different references about twins and battling. I mean, in the Bible, you got Abel and Cain. I'm not sure if they were twins, but they were definitely close brothers. But there's
there's all these different stories in faiths, cultures,
Yes, yeah.
and they have very similar stories, don't they?
Mm.
But they all have the same moral at the end of the day, you know. So
Yeah.
interesting.
It is kind of rituals and ceremonies happen at at this time of year in winter solstice.
Wow. Well, again, the core thing is no matter what culture or faith you are, what path you're following, there is this thing about sort of like worshipping the sun or having rituals and ceremonies for the sun, but it's also portrayed in worshipping sun gods, such as the Egyptian sun god Ra, or like the Hindu sun god Surya, which is the sun. And another point I'd like to mention actually is the sun is also the masculine energy, and we all have that within us. So it's also our internal sun, our masculine energy, because you say it's our masculine energy, during these cold winter months, and we have to really be in touch with our masculine energy to get things done, getting tasks done, that's masculine energy. And also this is very reflective of the father figure as well. And because things are changing now, because women do a lot of things that men used to do, but obviously in ancient times the father was the main sort of person that looked over the family, so especially in the winter months it was the father, that male figure that was very much like, I need to take care of my family.
It makes me think like there's always that old reference about father time and seasons and how everything correlates together.
Absolutely, yeah. So the other, some of the other rituals, it depends again, you see, where people are coming from, because in sort of locally here in the UK and Europe, I see that there is lots of reference to sort of like the Yule log, basically, decorating that, making your own Yule log. There's a lot of energy that's gone into that, and there's then decorating it, but also having certain things like holly, ivy, these are all symbolic, and they mean certain things that are very sort of in line with that winter solstice, with what's going on. So, making things everlasting through evergreen, for example, or sort of being lucky with the holly, for example, so these are all things that are rituals, things that are done. And then like in the Punjab, they make the saag, the green saag, which is like of spinach and other various green things, a bit like the one I gave you earlier.
Oh right, yeah. That was really tasty.
I made that. It takes all day to make it.
Oh, bless you.
Because it's the way that it's made, But yeah, so for the Punjabis, for Lohri, saag and corn roti, chapati made of corn flour, because they're very sort of filling and sustaining and are considered high energy foods.
Yes.
But also, that thing about the greenness of it, because having lots of greens into that saag and making that really wholesome. It's linked into the heart chakra, and this time of year is very much about being in touch with the heart chakra, because the celebration Lodi is about harvest time as well. So the winter crop that comes in, it's about the harvest. Did we get a good harvest? Did we get a good crop this winter or not? And then it's about sharing it with everybody. So it's not just that we get the crop and we keep it within our family. No, it's everything is like shared, to the community. So everybody celebrates and makes sure that on this celebration, everybody benefits.
I suppose like another thing at this time of year, it's always been traditional through different faiths of obviously like giving up a tribute or you know, but as you were saying about winter and crops and seeing in the new year, is there anything like that in different Asian faiths about giving it a tribute to the winter solstice?
It depends where you come from in India, because obviously more sort of like the South India, where there's a lot of like Hindu predominance, then the people will make offerings to the temples. Yeah, so they'll go to the temples and make offerings. Where I come from in the Punjab, it's a case of making offerings, donations at the Gurdwara, which is like the temple. But so that is the focal point where the community comes together. So like, you know, we have temples here as well locally, and you know, what would happen is that families would go and offer foods at the temple because it's cooked in the kitchen for all to share. And then you can give up things as well for you know, sort of like a certain period of time until maybe the next new moon or full moon, or 1 month, you know, 21 days. Sometimes people give up certain things, and like a fasting.
So
but
just
also,
like Lent?
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, one of the things actually that I have got to mention is also on Lohri, is that because of the fact that it's like, you know, harvesting the winter crop and it's about abundance and sharing, there is a tradition, and it still happens today, but it's a very old tradition. It's a little bit like, you know, here on Guy Fawkes Day, people go knocking, or on Halloween, people go around knocking on the doors. Well, in the Punjab, yeah, they do the same thing. The kids go around knocking and singing hymns and you know, and saying, you know, like, give us whatever.
Some good treats.
Some good treats, and so it happened. And
well, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to remember that one.
Yeah, go to India during Lohri and go around knocking on the doors and see how much, you know, how much harvest you can gather.
Yeah.
Get lots of treats. And another thing is, like, you know, during this period, if you give birth to a baby, it is considered very, very auspicious, because you've had because this time is also about new beginnings, it's about endings, but it's about rebirth and birth. And so the physical birth of a child at this time is considered really auspicious, and especially if it's a girl, because most of the time, you know, in Asian culture, it's the birth of a boy that's celebrated because they carry on with the family name, etc. But during Lohri, and I think it goes back to the two sisters that I said, you know, if it's a girl, Lohri is seen very auspicious, because obviously it's the feminine, it's the earth, Mother Earth, you know, she comes herself, you know.
So it's a real celebration.
A real celebration.
Female.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that's
very
brilliant.
much so. Yeah.
So if you have a daughter over this period, you're really blessed.
Very blessed, very blessed.
Yeah.
Over this period, you know, whether it's even a few days on either side or even a week, it's still considered very auspicious. And in India, you have these dancers, you know, that go, they're a community like gypsies, and when they hear that somebody's, you know, had a baby at this time, they will go and start dancing, and you can't send them away because that's a bad, you know, that's bad luck.
Yes.
You have to allow them, but you have to give them gifts, you know.
Yes.
You have to sort of bless them with gifts, and they bless you and your family, you know, through their dance and singing.
Fantastic.
So these are lots of ceremonies and rituals that go on. So just like here, you know, these rituals and ceremonies are celebrated, you know, in lots of different ways with lots of cultures, and
That's brilliant. Well, thanks
Yeah.
very much for spending this time and teaching me all these different customs and ideas.
Thank you for listening, and thank you to you also for listening. And if you have any questions, or if there is anything else you want to know in relation to what we've talked about, you can always, get in touch with us. Details will be at the bottom of the video.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's brilliant. So we could just
Was that
start.
good?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that actually.
Did we cover everything? Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Good.
That was brilliant when you
Yeah.
brought in about Gemini. I really liked that.
Yeah.
That spirit working with us,
Maybe it just came in my mind, like when you were saying that, but I just thought that sounds just like Gemini to me. So I thought I might mention that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I don't want to butt in, but I thought, oh no, I'll mention it.
No, that was good because it